finishers and factions catching action.
And welcome to Finishers and Factions does NXT. This week's NXT is taking place from Las Vegas, Nevada in the Fontainebleau Theatre, which is a nice change of pace from the Performance Centre, I will be honest. As always, my name is Adam, and I would normally be joined by my co-host Rich. As I mentioned in our Raw episode, it is a case that I've been... we came to an agreement to split the workload. WrestleMania weekend is an incredibly busy weekend for wrestling fans in general. Whether you're attending the events live or whether you're watching them from home, it is a brutal weekend of wrestling, as you get sort of like, especially if you're just watching WWE, there's 5 days worth of wrestling. Some days there are 2 events on at once, or 2 events on in that day. As you have Friday Night SmackDown, we had Stand and Deliver for NXT in the on the Saturday early. Well, for the UK it was sort of early afternoon. Later that night we had WrestleMania Night 1. And on Sunday we had WrestleMania Night 2, and then things did not let up from there, as we had the next night, we had the Monday after WrestleMania, which we've covered in our last episode, which was just myself, and then we come to this episode, which is NXT after Stand and Deliver. Now, we have said, myself and Rich, that our experiences of NXT are limited or non-existent at best. Now, this was my very first Stand and Deliver, and you know what? I really enjoyed it. I enjoyed Stand and Deliver. I thought it was really well put together. I thought the performances were solid. The storylines were well told. Yeah, just loved every aspect of it. Really did. Now, let's dive into this episode of NXT, which I'm assuming will work very much I assumed going into it that it worked very much the same way as the Raw after WrestleMania. That it's the restart, it's the reset button going into the new wrestling year, if you like. Now, we have an opening VT to begin with, which recaps Stand and Deliver as an event in very much the same way we did on Monday Night Raw with WrestleMania. We then go straight into match 1, which is a WWE Women's Tag Team Championship match, which sees our 4-time new World Tag Team Champions Liv Morgan and Raquel Rodriguez, just 24 hours removed from winning back their titles, are putting them on the line yet again against NXT's own Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dollin. Now, I feel it's necessary to point out Paxley and Dollin earned this opportunity on the Stand and Deliver pre-show, the countdown show, whatever you want to call it, in a 4-way elimination tag team match. Now, they beat Fatal Influence, I believe it was, as their last sort of team to beat, to then move on and have this match preordained for them. Now, to start the match off, Liv and Tatum start. Now, Liv taking very early control as the veteran in the ring, as the one with the most experience. I believe that's true. Yeah, I mean, Paxley showing again that she's just not intimidated by the champs at all. Once Rodriguez is in there, if you've ever seen Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dollin, they're impressive athletes for sure. But to look at them, they are such slight women. It is untrue. And nothing demonstrates that more than Raquel Rodriguez using Tatum Paxley as a hammer throw in the middle of the ring. Now, once sort of Paxley had got out of the ring and let a tag team partner have a quick go at trying to put this away for them, Dolin was actually doing some impressive chain wrestling. I enjoyed watching Dolin work. Now, Gigi did go high risk at one point, but was thwarted by Liv as Liv was taunting Gigi from the apron. Paxley came and gave her a shove off the apron and then delivers a standing moonsault off the apron itself, which, yeah, it was just all really well choreographed. Everyone was where they were supposed to be. Really well polished. Loved it. Now, a standard part of Liv Morgan's offense of late has been her delivering a Three Amigos. Now, this wouldn't be a Liv Morgan match if she didn't do this, at least in this match as well, which she 100% did. She delivered a Three Amigos to Tatum Paxley. Paxley ends up reversing another move later on with a DDT, according to the notes that I've got down here. Now, I did happen to notice that Tatum Paxley seems to be doing a lot of the heavy lifting in this, spending a lot of time in the ring, getting the bejesus beaten out of her, whereas Gigi's quite content to hang on the apron a little bit. Now, in the closing segments of this match, Tatum Paxley and Gigi Dolin do go for a cemetery driver on Rodriguez, not realising that Liv is the legal superstar. They obviously come to soon realise that when Liv Morgan comes flying off the top rope into a code breaker on Tatum Paxley. Gigi is then forced to eat a Tahuna bomb from Raquel Rodriguez and an Oblivion from Liv, as Liv gets the cover to win and retain their championships, which, yeah, can't say much fairer than that. Now, switching gears from there, we get a bit of a throwback to Stand and Deliver. Now, one part of Stand and Deliver that I particularly enjoyed, and it's got it's got everything to do with the fact that I find Lexus King to just be dead slimy and just, I've got nothing to like about the guy. But Lexus King during Stand and Deliver encountered Penn and Teller. Now, if you don't know who Penn and Teller are, they are a magical double act which they practically live in different venues on the Las Vegas Strip. They have been residents there for, probably longer than I've been alive. And I'm 33. It is a case that just absolute dons of magicians and phenomenal showmen. And they performed a magic trick using Lexus King's Heritage Cup, where Penn was able to make the cup disappear and replace it with Teller. Now, we never actually saw Lexus King have that Heritage Cup returned to him, for very good reason, because he didn't get it. Now, we do see in this VT promo here from earlier in the day, Penn and Teller bring back Lexus King's Championship Cup on the conditions that Lexus King looks straight down the camera, apologises to Penn and Teller for insulting them, and admits that they are magic, that magic is real, and that magic is what's about to bring his Heritage Cup back. Now, the other thing is that he is then forced to agree to defend the Heritage Cup later on in the card, which the only problem is he's got no idea who he's facing, which is difficult for anybody under any circumstances because, again, he's got no way of knowing who he's up against and what sort of offense to prepare for. But Lexus King takes it on the chin and walks off with his Heritage Cup, knowing that he's got a match later on in the card. Now, we are then shown a slightly different VT, showing Tavion Heights and Charlie Dempsey of No Quarter Catch Crew competing in Bloodsport over WrestleMania weekend. which is a combat sports show. It was basically pitted some of the best against one another and seeing what happens. We did see. I've seen clips on social media of not just Tavion and Charlie competing, but also I've seen Karrion Kross competing as well. And yeah, just fantastic to see. Loved it. Supposed to have been a really good show. Now, once we'd seen that footage of them doing Charlie Dempsey and Tavion doing really, really well at Bloodsport, we cut to backstage where we see the rest of No Quarter Catch crew, being Miles Bourne and Ren Sinclair, discussing between themselves why they weren't involved in Bloodsport themselves. It turns out neither of them were invited, but this is when they seem to encounter Dark State, who had a phenomenal stand and deliver. But these guys are led by one Saquon Sugars, who basically says that, yeah, there's no way that you guys were going to be able to handle Bloodsport, so quit dreaming. I don't know what you're on about. They also go as far as to say that that No Quarter Catch crew should split up now, basically, before Dark State has to do it for them. Now, another familiar face that we see coming down the corridor behind them is Mr. Young OG himself, Javon Evans, who, again, despite losing his match at Stand and Deliver, I think he had a phenomenal Stand and Deliver. That young man has nothing to be ashamed of, in my opinion. Now, he's come down, he's spoiling for a fight. He lost at Stand and Deliver and feels he has something to prove, so he's going to pick up an old rivalry with Dark State. And it turns out that him and Miles Bourne will be teaming up in a 2-on-2 against Dark State later on, which will be a really interesting one to sit and listen to sit and watch. From there, we get another promo from somebody else who is doing a victory lap, and the revolution is televised, people, as we see Ricky Saints, fresh off his first title defense of that North American Championship. I believe he I forget who he faced at Stand and Deliver. Damn. Yeah, but Ethan Page. He faced Ethan Page at Stand and Deliver. Wow, I can't believe I managed to forget that one. And what a match they had. Absolutely adored every last second of that match, not going to lie. Now, first thing that Ricky Saints does is call out Ethan Page for being an eternal pain in the ass, so much so that apparently even Ricky's own mother agrees. It's basically saying he's dead proud of himself for getting as far as he's gotten. He knows how hard it was, and yeah, looking forward to what the future holds. Now, Lexus King at this point interrupts, coming out for what looks to be his match, which would be next on the card. Congratulates Ricky on his win, but then basically proceeds to threaten Mr. Saints, saying that if he doesn't get out of his ring, he's going to take the North American title away from him. Now, Ricky, ever the self-confident young man, basically turns to Lexus and say, dude, I'm pretty sure your mouth is writing checks that your ass can't cash. So shut your hole and fuck off. But Lexus, rather ironically, tells Saints that no one likes Saints. I mean, I personally, not a huge fan of him. I don't really see what all the hype is about, I will be honest. He cuts an intense promo, don't get me wrong, but in ring, not really seeing the magic. Not yet. I'm waiting for something really special, because that's what I'm expecting. But at the moment, he feels a little bit like he's all mouth and no action, little bit. he puts the work in the ring. I'm just not seeing the amount of fanfare that he came in with relating in-ring ability. Now, Lexus King, not one to be diminished at any point, then challenges Saints to a champion versus champion match next week, winner take all style, and Saints wholeheartedly accepts. We then switch from there to backstage, where we see Zarya, Sol Ruka, Hank, and Tank discussing their respective stand and delivers. Now, Hank and Tank are more so deciding on how best to wear their brand spanking new shiny tag team championship belts as they won their match against Fraxium in a absolute barn burner at Stand and Deliver. When Thea Hale, returning hero, Chase U alum, comes along to congratulate Sol Ruka specifically on her win in the Women's North American title ladder match, which Thea Hale was a participant in, and basically goes on to say that, do you know what? If I couldn't win it, you're the one I wanted to win it, which shows a tremendous sense of turnabout fair play. I like it. It's not something we see very often. It's very refreshing. Now, at this point, or at some stage during this promo, I can't quite remember, Hank and Tank have fucked off. They've gone elsewhere because fatal injury. Hang on, bear with me. Yeah. Thea Hale comes in, congratulates Sol Ruka with her normal high energy. Yeah, I'm on crack. And Jada Parker comes along behind them. She could very well be hungover. I will be honest, as that is the impression I got from her. To shut the energy down, basically, and say, do you know what, Thea Hale, go fuck yourself. I'm really not in the mood for your bullshit. Kalani Jordan then comes out of nowhere to basically echo the same sentiment. So Jada Parker's fucked off at this point. Kalani Jordan and Thea Hale are left to continue on, and they are then interrupted by JC Jane and the rest of Fatal Influence. As Fallon Henley apparently seems to think she's still big bad boss bitch, who is capable of barking orders as she tries telling JC Jane and Kalani to shut Thea up, and they both tell her to go fuck herself and do it her damn self. Which, do you know what? Turnabout fair play, love it, absolutely adore it. Now, from there, we go into the second match, which was the Heritage Cup Championship match, which, we saw Lexus King defending against a seemingly unknown opponent at the moment. And it's at this point we find out that Lexus King's Heritage Cup Championship opponent is none other than Noam Dar, who is originally from Tel Aviv, Israel, but is introduced by the ring announcer as being from Ayr, Scotland, which also happens to be where one Drew McIntyre hails from as well. Now, it is a case that he's been out of action for a very long time, but comes with a rather impressive pedigree of championship accomplishments, which include Heritage Cup Gold on 3 different occasions before now. It's a case that he was out of action because of Ethan Page, basically. An attack from Ethan Page put him on the shelf for 11 months. But being a 3-time Heritage Cup champion before that, and currently holds the second longest Heritage Cup championship reign at 341 days. But if you total up all of his reigns, it is a case that he comes to a total of 790 days, which is a phenomenally long time. 790 days, what are we looking at there? It's like 2 years, give or take, total of being the NXT Heritage Cup champion. And yeah, it is a case that I've put down here, Dar takes early control. Dar has a vast majority of the control in this match. Lexis King seems to be completely outmatched here. Even goes to the point of trying to rub off Lexis King's beard, which honestly I'm really glad somebody has. I'm glad that I've seen somebody do it because his beard really annoys me. But very much a case that it's a contrast in styles between Lexis King and Noam Dar. Noam Dar is very much he's a very technical wrestler from what I've gathered. And it is a case that he is, what's the word? A lot of his strikes and moves are small moves, which on their own don't cause a huge amount of damage. But when you total them all together, it is a case that he does huge damage. Whereas Lexis King, little bit more stockier built, not quite as fast around the ring. So he relies on doing a lot of damage in not a lot of moves. So it's kind of a case that he's a lot heavier hitting, whereas Noam Dar, a lot quicker, a lot lighter, gets around his opponent, no problem at all. Now, as I said, this match isn't terribly long. I think it lasted maybe 4 to 6 minutes in total, which was time enough for Noam Dar to win with basically some precision striking. Had a fantastic striking game out there during that match, and walks out the new Heritage Cup champion, which obviously raises some questions around the match that Lexis King had put in place for next week. But I think we may find out about that a little bit later on. So we'll circle back round to that in just a little while. And we go from that match to a backstage promo which sees Sarah Schreiber interviewing the prodigy Roxanne Perez. Basically on how she got the NXT Championship match tonight, because she wasn't in the running for it before. Seems to have gotten this all on her own. Apparently, after Stand and Deliver, went and really got in Stephanie Vaqueur's face, and ended up sort of getting a title shot that way, I suppose. But it's a case that Perez confirms it was getting into Vaqueur's face, taking what she believes she deserves. Perez always has this massive air of entitlement, and the entitlement on its own really bugs me, but it's a case that we take what we can get at this point, I suppose. What works for her works for her. We can't sort of go any further on that. Now, she does say that she had no idea that Julia had the same idea that she did on Monday Night Raw, so they weren't in cahoots as we thought they might have been. It is a case that they were operating separately but achieving the same thing, I suppose. Now, Perez is relatively confident that she's going to beat Stephanie tonight, only because she feels that Stephanie's just going to be way too tired with everything to do with a championship run. Where's she going to have time to do anything else? Which, do you know what? I can't really blame her for. I can't really say boo to a goose for it. Now, the next match is match 3 on the card. It's another women's singles match. Well, I say another one. I don't think I've actually talked about one just yet. I've got to go back. I've just got to double check myself now. No, so it is a women's singles match rather than another one. And this sees Fallon Henley accompanied to the ring by JC Jane and Jasmine Nix versus somebody who's becoming one of my very quick favourites in this, which is Thea Hale. I'm just really enjoying the energy she brings. I honestly wish I had that much energy in day-to-day life because, yeah, energy levels for me are an issue. Believe it or not. It is a case that this isn't for a title or anything like that. This sort of predates back to another section earlier on in the card for it. Fallon Henley takes some early control, but very much underestimating Thea Hale. Now, Thea Hale used to be part of Chase U, which was run by Andre Chase. A bunch of up-and-coming superstars were all bought through sort of Chase U to try and basically give them some working skills, I suppose, is probably the best way to put it. And yeah, there's not really been many Chase U alum that have gone on to do fantastically great things, I don't feel. But it is something that very much hangs on Thea Hale's resume for it. And yeah, Henley showing a lot of offense and power, whereas sort of Hale was being manhandled, especially early doors of the match. However, Hale at one point is sent to the outside. Now, at one side of the ring, as we've got Jasmine Nix distracting the ref. We see Fatal Influence do this on a regular basis. Very much play the numbers games to tip the scale in their favour. It is a case that as Nix is distracting the ref, JC and Fallon try to double team Hale with Fallon holding Hale in a sort of like a full Nelson sort of lock. It is a case that JC was going to come in and plant a boot right on Hale to basically take a lot of the offense out of her, make Fallon's night a little bit easier. That would have been the case had it not been for Thea Hale slipping the hold and JC delivering a big boot to Fallon Henley, sending her careening into the steel step shoulder first, which god damn looked painful. Now Hale comes back from this, dropping a headbutt to JC Jane, tossing Fallon Henley into the ring, and then as she gets in the ring herself, manages to go and bump Jasmine Nix off the ring apron onto the floor, before locking in a Kimura lock to win via submission. All in all, relatively short match. Not much to go over at all with that one, but yeah, still really entertaining. Can't take anything away from that match. It's a case that it's grown a bit of a fandom for Thea Hale. I think she's got some big things coming, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what it is that they do with her in NXT. Quick drink myself there, just while I got that sorted. Next, we switch to in-ring. We switch back to in-ring promo here, where we see reigning, defending NXT champion Oba Femi, who has held the title for over 100 days at this point, as he won it back at New Year's Evil in January, the debut episode of NXT on Netflix, and the very first episode that we covered here on Finishers and Factions. And he's out here doing his victory lap on another successful defense, and yeah, it is a case that Javon he acknowledges that while he has said in the run up to Stand and Deliver, he said some rather nasty things to Javon Evans, but sort of regrets saying them a little bit, as at Stand and Deliver, Javon really sort of showed his mettle and impressed the ruler. Oba even goes as far as to say, even though it is not Javon's time now, his best years are ahead of him, and he gives major props to the young OG. That must have done absolute wonders for that young man's confidence, because, yeah, it is a case that he did a phenomenal job in that Stand and Deliver match. Now, he then turns his attention to Trick Williams, and other than the fact that Oba really can't stand Williams, he says, as great as he is, the ruler is that much better. This is obviously triggers Trick Williams to come out. He is not very happy at all. Comes out to demand again or make another demand for a one-on-one. And I can sort of understand Trick Williams' point here, is that every time he is asked for a match, he's got the match, but then other people have been allowed to muscle in on that match, such as Eddie Thorpe and Javon Evans. Trick Williams has never really got his like a rematch one-on-one with Oba Femi, which is sort of becoming a bit of a pressure point for him, I feel. But it is a case that so it comes out using the rationale that Oba won that match by pinning Javon Evans, so legitimately beat Javon, but didn't actually beat Trick, which again I can sort of see the logic behind. It's not completely lost on me as it goes. Now, we also find out that this episode of NXT takes place on Oba Femi's birthday. So many happy returns of the day. Obviously, we're past that day now, but many happy returns of the day to the ruler himself. And hope you had a fantastic birthday there, brother. Love that. Now, this did also trigger a rather surprising entry from, an outsider, essentially. As we said his name, and he appeared, because we all believe in Joe Hendry, who came back to NXT. And yeah, Joe is not here to mince words today. He calls out Trick for changing, giving into self-pity, basically lays down some honest talk, saying that Trick is not a hungry superstar anymore. He's made the step over into entitled. And I think what he's referring to with that is that Trick Williams keeps coming out and making all these demands for these matches, which is great for Trick Williams. But the reason that Trick Williams has never really got that one-on-one is because every time he gets a match, it shouldn't really make any difference if it's one-on-one. It is a case that Trick Williams is sort of getting in his own way, and even goes a step further and just ends up calling him a whiny bitch. Now, Trick obviously is not going to take very well to being called a whiny bitch, even though he is a whiny bitch, and Trick is belittled by belittles Hendry, calling him an outsider, saying that he doesn't belong, and telling him to go back to where he came from. Now, this is where sort of Joe reveals his true purpose for being here, as he says, well, to be fair, dude, I don't have any business with you. Hendry basically turns around and says that my business is more to do with the NXT champion, Obafemi. Now, at this point, it is a case that Obafemi just basically says, look, dude, don't make the same mistake that Moose did. At this stage, we can see Trick Williams very much getting between the two, not to stop the fight, but so that basically he doesn't get pushed into being secondary in this story. And honestly, him muscling in between these two heavyweight champions basically just causes those two heavyweight champions to have a common enemy at this point, as both Hendry and Femi gang up on Trick and toss him out of the ring. Now, the idea of Joe Hendry versus Obafemi is incredibly intriguing to me. He had obviously his WrestleMania debut this year, which was against Randy Orton. I felt that match was a little bit squashy, not going to lie, but I feel like it could have been a little bit more competitive potentially, but a lot of people enjoyed it just for the fact that Joe Hendry turned up, so I'm not going to say any more about it realistically. Now, we go from there into a VT promo showing Stacks in the middle of the desert. Now, obviously, Stacks is at odds at the moment with the D'Angelo family after low-blowing Tony D'Angelo in the 6-man tag match at Stand and Deliver. And yeah, he's there waiting for Luca Crucifino. Luca turns up in a bright red, looks like a Mustang to me. I could be wrong, but it did look like a Mustang. Now, Luca goes off on Stacks, basically saying, dude, what the fuck? Why did you do what you did? What's the deal? You need to come and have a sit down with Tony, sort this shit out. You guys have been friends since your arseholes were the size of shirt buttons, sort of thing. And all Stacks does is go, dude, shush. Points out that they are out in the middle of nowhere. Luca sort of has a realization, and all we hear is, oh, fuck. And everything goes black. We don't get anything else to do with Stacks and Crucifino following that or anything like that. We do get another D'Angelo family vignette, sort of leading up to later on in the card. So we'll get to there as well. Now, we return from that VT to the announce desk. The announcers start talking about something when all of a sudden we are interrupted and shown a brief video VT of Trick Williams crashing out again in the background or in the backstage area, to the point that even video feed cuts out, and all we are able to hear is Trick going absolutely apeshit, and Ava, we assume it is Ava, in the back there trying to pull everything back together for it, and yeah, just complete chaos. We then find out later on in the card that Ava basically kicked Trick Williams out of the building, and will likely face some repercussions for that next week. But that takes us very nicely into match 4, which is a men's tag team match, which sees Miles Bourne and Javon Evans facing two members of Dark State. The two members in question on this occasion were Dion Lennox and Osiris Griffin, who were accompanied to the ring by Saquon Sugars and Cutler James. As when you face Dark State, you don't just face one or two or three of them, you face all four at once and have to be very aware of that normally. Now, in fairness to Dark State for this match, the Saquon Sugars and Cutler James were very well behaved. It wasn't a case that they got involved where they shouldn't have been or anything along those lines. And I think that was mostly because, like, Osiris Griffin, complete powerhouse. Dion Lennox, complete powerhouse. It's, yeah, we're not looking at this being, like, horrendously... they weren't seeing the threat that they posed, even with Javon Evans's fantastic performance at Stand and Deliver. Now, I'll be honest, I didn't get a massive amount of notes on this match. It was a case that, for the most part, Dark State had a lot of the control. They had a lot of the control. Osiris Griffin, Dion Lennox, very much exerting their pressure in any way, shape, or form they possibly could. Now, that's not to say that the young OG and Miles Bourne didn't get their fair share of licks in on this. And they were even joined by Charlie Dempsey and Tavian Heights, who were looking on from the stage at one point. But even so, Dark State were just sort of dominating 100%. It's a case that, honestly, I thought at one stage towards the end of the match, Miles Bourne came in for a bit of a comeback, a bit of a hot tag comeback, and he very much channeled his inner Randy Orton, in my opinion. Like, even to the point where a lot of what he was even his what's the word? Even his like the way he looked was like a shorter version of Randy Orton. His body build and everything else. Yeah, just I got huge Randy Orton vibes off Miles Bourne. But Dark State do end up, despite all of Javon Evans and Miles Bourne's efforts, Dark State do end up walking out with the win after what I can only describe as a Dark State spine buster to Miles Bourne for the win. Now, we go from that match into Ava's office, catching the tail end of a conversation between the lovely lady herself and Sean Spears, where apparently he's just looking out for his friends. Now, as Spears leaves Ava's office, it is a case that Yoshiki Inamura comes in, and he's very respectful, very he doesn't feel that Ava gets enough respect out of the roster for all the work that she puts in, and very much crawling up her arsehole, I feel. But Inamura basically says, look, my time is short. I'm not going to be... I'm due to go back to Japan soon. And honestly, I just feel a bit bad for my tag team partner. We came so close to tag team gold, and I just feel like I've let him down. It's a huge source of shame for me. Really laying on the emotional blackmail thick. And Ava, being the soft heart that she is, basically says, look, you don't feel bad. Tell you what we'll do. We'll get you a match for next week against Hank and Tank for the tag team gold. Gives you one more opportunity. Now, Josh Briggs has come in partway through this, seeing Inamura as being upset, and it's only after Ava leaves and leaves Briggs and Inamura in the office on their own that Inamura sort of turns to Briggs after he's been asked, what happened? How did you manage to get that match? He was like, old Japanese secret, which is turn on the waterworks and they give me what I want. So yeah, it looks like Briggs and Inamura have got a tag team title opportunity against Hank and Tank next week. Now moving on from there, we go into another VT promo. Now this one gives us an aerial shot of Las Vegas Strip to begin with, and then a generic hotel hallway which sees Tony D'Angelo going to what turns out to be Rizzo's hotel room, and she seems quite reluctant to let him in to begin with. Like, you've been followed and all the rest of it. It just seemed a bit. She seemed very cagey, very scared of what was happening within the family. Now, I have got some very disjointed notes here. It didn't all happen in this order, but yeah, so once Tony's been let in, Tony says that he's basically taking what Stacks did as an act of war. Rizzo doesn't know where to put her loyalty, as Stacks helped her with bullies when she was younger, but Tony's looked after her since she's been part of the family, so she's got very torn loyalties there. Very much trying to play the diplomat, like saying, what if we call a sit down and all the rest of it. And Tony's already said on numerous occasions that his trust in Stacks has wavered on several different occasions. So I got a feeling that this didn't come as a shock to to the Don at all. Basically, Tony wants to put Rizzo in a safe house for her own protection. And yeah, it just seems like no matter what, I think Stacks could save his wife, Tony's wife and kids, and still his heart would be cold to Stacks no matter what. I don't think there's much that Stacks can do at this point to redeem himself in with the family. I think he's burnt his bridges. And I know that next week we are due to find out from a confrontation between Tony and Stacks what basically happened, what's caused this rift, and what goes on from there. Now, we go backstage for the next promo, which sees Sarah Schreiber interviewing Ricky Saints, who confirms that despite Lexis King's loss, he will still get a shot at the North American title next week. Basically saying, look, I've got nothing to gain from this apart from another title defense, but I'm a man of my word. I'll give you the opportunity you asked for, and who knows, you might be able to pull something out the bag. Ethan Page interrupts the interview, but appears to be sort of acting as a distraction for Lexis King himself, who just basically blindsides Ricky Saints, blaming him for losing the Heritage Cup. And Page just simply says to him, look, Ricky, I think we'll pick up our shit later, dude. And leaves him there in a broken heap on the floor. Now, we go from there into another VT promo, which sees we don't recognise who it is who's walking through these hallways, then into an office, turning on the light, all the while holding a briefcase, which is then put on a desk, opened up, and we see a Chase U jumper, sweater, whatever you want to call it, a piece of Chase U clothing bought out, and it's revealed to us that it is Andre Chase, who we have been following with the camera for the last few moments, declaring, "We're fucking back, baby!" So I think we're seeing a return of Chase U. I think Kale Dixon and crew have had a massive effect on Andre Chase, and we will see the Andre Chase of old come back. But we may have to wait for next week for more information around that, because, yeah, I was not around for when Chase U originally went out. So, yeah, 100%. Really looking forward to that one. And that leads us very nicely into the main event of NXT. And that main event basically culminates in the NXT Women's Championship match, which sees our champion Stephanie Vecchio versus Roxanne Perez, the Prodigy. And yeah, it is a case that this match, the momentum in this match is shifting by the second. It is a case that we can't possibly be getting There was a massive amount of feeling out, considering this was the first time these two have faced off against one another, but they're going to have known each other really well as it goes. It just makes sense. There was some absolutely gorgeous chain wrestling in this match. Stephanie even goes for the kiss of death, slamming Roxanne Perez's face into the mat. But Roxanne Perez sees this coming and, basically rolls to the ring apron, forcing the rope break. Now, as Vicur drags Perez back into the ring from this, Perez drags the ring apron up and into the ring with her, which then triggers the ref to go and try and fix it. While the ref's back is turned, Perez, typical heel move, rakes Vicur's eyes with those nails to try and gain an unfair advantage. Now, with Perez in control, a few moments after this, fighting spills onto the entrance ramp, where basically the two women leave the ring with Perez in control. Perez does not remain in control. Vicur takes control again, and Vicur manages to hit. So normally when we see a 619, it's the opponent is draped over the second rope, second rope facing outside of the ring. This time Vicur did it the opposite way round. Roxanne was outside the ring, propped up on the second rope, facing in the ring. And Vicur hit the 619 that way, which, do you know what? I can't be mad at it for it. And drops the dime with a springboard crossbody. Now, the next kiss of death attempt that Stephanie tries to exact is dedicated to Booker T, and the reason we know it is because she stands in the ring, points to Booker T. Now, this either means that it's dedicated to Booker T, or we know that Booker T himself is a massive, massive advocate for Roxanne Perez. So it could be, you caused this, Booker, or this one's for you. As we saw a kiss of death on Raw, we didn't have Booker T's input on it, and it just felt all kinds of wrong. So this sort of soothed a sore of the soul to hear Booker T going knowing that he was going to end up on the couch when he got home that night. Now, Roxanne does get her way back into this match, hits a Hurricane Rana and goes straight into a crossface submission, which Vicur tries desperately to scramble to the ropes to force a break, but Roxanne, not wanting any of it, drags her back into the center of the ring, going from there. It is basically Vicur finds another way out of this submission hold, and it just ends up in a chain of pinfalls, one after the other. Roxanne pins Vicur pins Roxanne, and it just keeps going like this for a moment or two. Now, Vicur does walk out of this match retaining the title after hitting a dragon screw into an SVB for the 3 count, and NXT closes with Julia coming out of the main entrance with Jordan Grace off to the one side within the crowd, just staring daggers into a once again victorious Stephanie Vicur. Now, that does bring us to the end of finishers and factions. Does NXT and yes, thank you for putting up with me throughout this entire thing. I've loved every last second of it. Now, next episode that we will be releasing will be Finishers and Factions does Friday Night SmackDown. This Friday Night SmackDown, I believe, will take place from Fort Worth, Texas. So, yeah, we are well and true. This is the last event that will take place in Las Vegas as part of WrestleMania weekend. And what a WrestleMania it has been. But we are now well and truly on the road to Backlash. And Backlash, I believe, somewhere around the 10th of May, I want to say. Somewhere around there. And yeah, well and truly looking forward to that. But yes, come back, and the plan is for me and Rich to do Finishers and Factions does SmackDown together. However, we are very aware of sort of how late this is going out, so we apologise for that. We are working our way to getting back on track. So yeah, this episode will drop as soon as we've managed to get it ready between both of our work schedules. So please bear with. But I've been Adam. It has been my pleasure to talk your ear off. And this was Finishers and Factions does NXT. Thank you.